Okay, get this. What if I told you that one of the biggest, most powerful e-commerce platforms on the entire planet runs on a single giant application? It's true. Today, we're diving deep into the Modular Monolith, a seriously powerful architecture that completely challenges all the hype around microservices. You know, every software project, big or small, eventually hits a fork in the road, a critical choice that can literally shape its destiny. So let's frame this core problem, the one that so many teams get stuck on.
And here it is, the classic, high-stakes question. Do you build a single, unified monolith, or do you go all in on microservices, breaking your app into dozens, maybe even hundreds of tiny, independent pieces?
And man, it is a tough choice, because each path has these really well-known pros and cons that just pull teams in opposite directions. The monolith? Super simple to get started, but you run the risk of it growing into this tangled, unmanageable, big ball of mud. On the other hand, microservices promise amazing flexibility and scale, but, and this is a big but, they come with a huge amount of operational complexity. For years, it feels like the whole industry has been on this microservices hype train, right? It's often talked about as the only way to build something that can scale. But what if that hype is actually leading us down the wrong path? What if there's a better way? And this is where our story gets really interesting. What if there's a third option, a more pragmatic path, a middle ground that could give us the best of both worlds? Well, let me introduce you to the Modular Monolith. Now, from the outside, it looks just like a regular old monolith. It's one single application that you deploy all at once, simple. But on the inside, it's structured into these clean, organized, and totally independent components. Think of it like a well-organized library instead of a messy closet. The principles that make this work are absolutely crucial. By having these really strict boundaries between modules, different teams can work on their own pieces without tripping over each other. And here's the really brilliant part. This architecture gives you an escape hatch. You can easily pull one of these modules out and turn it into a microservice later on, but only if and when you actually need to. Okay, so that all sounds great in theory, but does it hold up in the real world, like at a truly massive global scale? Well, to answer that, let's take a look at an absolute giant of e-commerce, Shopify. Just to give you a sense of the scale we're talking about, during their busiest weekend of the year, Black Friday, Cyber Monday, Shopify's platform handles a mind-boggling amount of traffic. We're talking over 55 million requests every single minute at its peak. That's just insane. So, to handle that kind of load, you'd have to assume it's powered by some sprawling, super complex web of microservices, right? I mean, that's what all the articles and conference talks have taught us to believe. But the surprising reality is, nope. The vast majority of Shopify's core, customer-facing stuff is served by a single, large Ruby on Rails application. They call it their Majestic Monolith. And this is no accident. This whole philosophy, this idea of pragmatic simplicity, it comes straight from the top. It's the core belief that drives their engineering decisions, and honestly, it's the secret sauce to their incredible success. So that really raises the million-dollar question, doesn't it? How in the world does Shopify keep its Majestic Monolith from becoming that tangled mess we talked about? How do they stop it from collapsing under its own weight? Their solution to their biggest scaling problem, the database, is just brilliant. They split their data into these smaller, self-contained units they call pods. It's like taking one giant central library and splitting it into a bunch of independent neighborhood branches. Each pod is completely isolated, which means if one has a problem, it doesn't take down the entire system. It limits the blast radius. Meanwhile, the rest of the app that doesn't hold data can just be copied and scaled out as much as they need. Their deployment process is just as disciplined. I mean, they push new code hundreds of times a day, but they do it super safely using an automated process called a canary release. So a new change gets sent to just a tiny fraction of live servers first. They watch it like a hawk, and if any of their health metrics dipped even a little bit, boom, the change is automatically rolled back. No harm, no foul. So, after all that, what is the big, pragmatic lesson we can take away from Shopify's success? What can we all learn from how they approach building software? When you look at it this way, it becomes pretty clear. The modular monolith is often the perfect choice, especially for small to medium-sized teams that just need to move fast. You get that speed and simplicity without the massive operational headache of a distributed system, a headache you might not be ready for. And, you know, it's not just Shopify. The legendary software architect Martin Fowler says it best. He basically says that forcing microservices on a project too early isn't being forward-thinking. It's just a form of premature optimization. You're trying to solve problems you don't even have yet and paying a really high price for it. So the big lesson from Shopify is this. A well-designed monolith isn't some ancient relic. It's a powerful, strategic choice that puts pragmatism and speed first. It's all about starting simple, managing complexity on your own terms, and refusing to pay that heavy microservices tax until you absolutely positively have to. And that brings us to a final, really powerful thought based on a fundamental rule of how systems work. The next time you start a project, will you chase the loud thunderclap of 100 different microservices, or will you embrace the quiet confidence of a simple modular design that's actually built to evolve and succeed?